Guys, I am here with Jeff Hayes, Sleepaway Camp. You had a part to play in the return to Sleepaway Camp. Could you talk a little bit about that? Just sort of explain how that all happened? Because obviously we talked a bit before about how creative you were when you were younger and still were, and always writing and coming up with ideas. Did you ever imagine that you were going to have this active part in rebuilding the franchise, so to speak?
Well, I had hoped, definitely. But it's funny because if you think about it, it's like, what are the chances that you're going to track down the stars, the director, the writer of this movie, and be able to convince them all to come back and do it again? And it actually happened. So that was like just really exciting. So what happens is I go out to New York to meet and do a big multimedia interview with Phyllis Rose. And before I went out there, I had asked her, can you pull out anything you had at the time when you made the movie, for us to look at and go through, and, maybe it'll spur some memories or whatever. And she was like, yeah. She said, I think there's some stuff at my mother's house. And so she went to her mother's house, and she ended up digging out this old kind of scrapbook where different people who worked on the movie had written little messages in it to her. And it was kind of like a high school yearbook, somebody's writing you a message or whatnot. And so one of the people who left a message in there was Victoria Totosian, and she was a cook on the movie. And believe it or not, she had actually, at the end of her message, she had said, hey, call me sometime. And she had left a phone number. And so we're looking through this book, and there it is. And it's like, what are the chances that this phone number is still going to lead us to Victoria? And then maybe that could lead us to Michelle, who would, hopefully lead us to Robert. And at this time, nobody knew that Michelle and Robert had even gotten married yet.
Right.
So it was like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm not going to turn down a chance to go to just try it and see what happens. So from Phyllis's house, I actually called the number, and it ended up leading me to Michelle, Missy, who went on to tell me that she was now Robert's wife. And then, we just started having this big conversation, and I told her about the website, and she was like, oh, I got to go check this out. And then, she checked it out. She showed Robert that night. And then the next day we had a big conversation about what it would be like to, do a new movie for Sleepaway Camp, a sequel, bring back some of the original characters. And Robert was like, until I saw this website, I had no idea that anybody was even interested in it. And he said, he liked the idea, and he would definitely be interested in doing it. And now that he sees that there's interest in it, he would work on something. So this just kind of, kept spiraling and spiraling, and me and Robert would talk back and forth about different things. And then he ended up pulling out a script that he had written in 1986, because he had originally written a sequel script for Sleepaway Camp.
Yes.
And he wanted to use some of the ideas in that because he thought that they were like really good things that the fans would really like. So he took a lot of those ideas and put them into this new script. But it didn't have any of the characters that were in the original movie. And so that's where I kind of came in as like, we're doing a Sleepaway Camp sequel. We have to have Angela. I mean, you can't do Nightmare on Elm Street without Freddy. So he was like, okay, I was like, let's do Angela, and let's bring back another couple of characters. So he agreed. And that's how, so he wrote it, and we got Angela, Ronnie, and Ricky all back in there. And then the next thing that came was financing, and it took a little while, but the financing came through. And then this was around 2011, after the September terrorist attacks that happened. And the investors actually ended up pulling out, because after that terrorist attack, the world was just in this different place, and nobody knew, what was safe, money or anything. And so we ended up having to wait a little bit longer. And then we ended up getting the financing. And in September of 2003, we finally shot the movie. So yeah, that whole long story is
wow. No, that's amazing though, to think, because I imagine it, and from reading the book, it was quite challenging getting all those pieces together. Obviously, you've got like a big worldwide or international incident happening in the middle, and it's still got. How do you feel with the result of that? How's the kind of you know it's done and you managed to do that all those
Mhm.
years later. Did it feel like the end of a journey, or did you just want to go and do more?
No, I definitely wanted to keep going. um, it you know it was obviously it was an amazing experience to me because it's a dream come true as the fan of Sleepaway Camp, as a kid, being so involved in getting the next one made and being part of it and being there every day on the set and doing a little bit of every aspect there was to do in the movie from being
Yeah.
an extra counselor or whatever was needed, or and I shot a behind the scenes documentary and it was just it was an amazing time. Now the finished movie, you know I think that it could have been better. There were some issues, and one of the things that happened was that halfway through production, about half of the money got pulled.
Oh.
So Robert and Missy ended up having to be able to find a way to finish this movie with half the budget being pulled out. And how do you do that? It's
Yeah,
not an easy
that's
thing to do.
crazy.
And so they made it so that we were able to, finish shooting the script. But what ended up happening was a lot of the murders in the movie were shot with practical effects, but they were supposed to be embellished by CGI effects.
Ah.
And so all that stuff, all the CGI stuff that Robert had already allocated money to at that time had to be completely cut out because there was no money left. And so that takes some of these really brilliant creative ideas that Robert had for some of these murders, and it totally just kills them. Like if you remember, there's a scene where Vincent Pastora's character ends out his stomach gets eaten by rats, and it almost looked kind of like cartoonish, like there are these two funny little puppet rats that were in his stomach moving around. But the thing was, at the time the movie Willard had just come out, and
Ah,
Robert
yes.
had said, I think the effects are at a point where, we can do really awesome rat effects and get that scene done where it looks like there's a whole bunch of rats inside his stomach eating out all his intestines and, make it really memorable and gross. And you just didn't get to see any of that. And
Right.
it was that sort of thing that happened to, like 75% of the murders in the movie.
So it's interesting because obviously you've taken that passion and creativity and you've gone on and made your own movies. You made Fragments of a Ghoulish
Mhm.
Mind. Um, so was that a direct influence of kind of working alongside Robert and thinking, I've had this grounding now, I've had this education, I've gone through these behind the scenes and getting involved and
Mhm.
producing, and now I want to go and do my own thing.
Yeah, no, I had always been doing it. I mean, since I was a teenager.
Of course, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it was something that I kept doing all throughout the years. It wasn't stuff where I wanted to go out and you know look into trying to find a budget and all this money, because that's obviously the hardest part. I just wanted to go out there and make some movies. And
Yeah.
so I would, I'd get together friends of mine who had a little bit of experience in acting and working on some movie stuff. And I'd put the movie together myself. I wrote it, directed it, I edited it, I did the effects. A lot of that stuff, it wasn't done in the way that a traditional movie is done, where you have this giant crew and each
Mm.
person is responsible for just one little job. It's like me doing 100 little jobs and then the actors.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
yeah, so
Like Ghoulish, I've not been able to get hold of Ghoulish, but I found that really interesting because that's Ghoulish is based on a real a real sort of real life situation.
yep.
And I found that fascinating. Um, in fact, both Fragments of a Ghoulish Mind. these are all completely original ideas. Do you think it's informed by your overall love of horror and all the films that you've watched? And
Oh,
also,
absolutely.
yeah,
It's a combination of that, and I've always been interested in psychology and true crime.
right.
A lot of times I find a true crime documentary even better than a movie, because you're learning the real life things that really happened, and when you know that it's real, it makes it even more disturbing. And
Yeah,
I
because
think
that's
like
true.
that whole
Yeah,
idea is kind of what I kind of ghoulish and fragments of a ghoulish mind. That stuff came from a lot of like real life true crime stuff, and I put in elements that of different serial killers and different things that had really happened, and worked all that stuff into the story, so it felt kind of like a combination between like a true crime documentary and a movie.
yeah. That's exactly what you want, though, isn't it? You want movies made by people who have that real passion and love for the subject. It's not,
Yep.
sometimes we watch things and we enjoy them, the trashy side of it, because we know deep down that they were just cashing in on a film that was really successful, 6 months ago or whatever it was. Certainly like the slasher boom, there's varying degrees, but then I guess we can find fun in ones that, for the campiness of them, different qualities. But
Mhm.
I'm really interested in two. If I could just ask you two more questions, if you've
Sure.
got time. What one was, the best part of your filmmaking journey. I'm really interested in the best part of your filmmaking journey. The other part was, what's the best part of your sleepaway camp journey? Because I know the two things are linked, but I'm really interested in like looking back now after writing the book, time of reflection. How do what were the best parts of these experiences of the filmmaking, but also of the book?
When you talk about the filmmaking, do you mean like my own personal filmmaking, or like the sleepaway
Yeah,
camp stuff?
yeah, just working towards like kind of the having that autonomy and making your own films. And I know you like you
Mhm.
say, you've had these ideas and made these things for many years, but like, what's the best part of being able to kind of use all this history that you've got and go and do
Mhm.
your own movies?
Um, I think part of it is to be able to tell your own story that hasn't been done yet. Like I kind of feel like if I'm gonna go out and spend a couple years of my time, every other weekend or something for like 2 or 3 years and make one of these little independent movies, um, I want to be able to tell a story that has never been told before, and that's just so different that when people watch it, they feel like, you know, I definitely haven't seen this before. You
Yeah,
want something about it to stand out on its own. So I tend to like when I do my own thing like that. I tend to go a little bit crazy with the characters and the situations, because I want somebody to say, "Wow, that was nuts," or "Wow, I've never seen that." And so
like a
yeah, I
strong
think
reaction.
yeah, in that whole way, it's being able to tell your own story, and to kind of to give an audience something that came from your mind, and with the help of your friends, and just and being able to put together a complete movie project. Like how many people
Yeah,
can set out to make a movie from beginning to end in like say 3 years time, and edit it and put it together and have something at the end, that's a pretty fun thing, in even not just for the people making it, but people who are into that type of a story to be able to enjoy it. So
yeah, and it's interesting you talk about people having a reaction to your film, and I've never seen that before. It goes right back to right at the beginning of our interview when you talked about your reaction to watching Sleepaway Camp.
yeah, it's true. It really is.
So that's really cool, man. That is literally, that kind of, you're getting to do the thing. You're getting to give people the things the thing that you appreciated at that time. That's really lovely. That's really nice. So just to finish off, what do you take from this sleepaway camp journey? What has sleepaway camp given you, Jeff? You know, what not everybody else, not me or other fans, but you
Mhm.
personally, what do you think Sleepaway Camp has given you?
Um, it's allowed me to continue like my passions for horror movies and creativity and you know, a lot of the things that I loved so much as a kid. A lot of times when you become an adult, it's like, oh, you got to forget about these things that you did when you were a kid, and it's time to grow up and go out and get a real job and blah 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 blah. You know,
Yeah.
doing this stuff has kept me being able to stay in that frame of mind where it's like, you know, you can create something on your own and spread it around and just I don't know. I think a lot of people, once they get on the track of their adult life, they leave their childhood behind. And
Mm,
my childhood was so filled with creativity and stuff, especially because of horror movies, that
yeah.
I want to be able to continue enjoying that for the rest of my life. And
Oh,
and
that's
you know,
awesome.
through everything that I did with Sleepaway Camp and tracking people down and conventions and screenings and just everything, like it keeps me in that world. And you know, it's somewhere where I feel like you know, I've kind of always belonged. And you know, and to be able to, you know, to still do it and to keep doing it, um
Oh man, that's
it's
amazing.
amazing. I
Yeah, it
wouldn't.
really is. It's so cool to hear that, and I would urge people. I'm gonna do this, and Jeff's not told me to plug the book or any of these things, and I'm not getting paid. I just genuinely love the book, guys. You know, who are watching, I really recommend this. It is the definitive book on a wonderful film, and it has everything that you've answers to questions you didn't even know you had. And I just want to thank you so much, Jeff, for your time.
Absolutely.
But also for just kind of taking us on that journey and for writing the book, getting those people back out. A lot of those people are in films again now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I know there's lots of Sleepaway Camp fans who will have found this absolutely fascinating. So thank you.
Thank you.